Champ and Chump, get your votes in. Champ and Chump on the weekend. Pistons off on Saturday and Sunday after annihilating the New York Knicks, holding them to 80 points. 80 points. Now, they didn't have Karl Anthony Towns, and they didn't have Anunoby.
There you go.
But they beat him up nonetheless. And how about Danis Jenkins? Give it a new contract. And you'd have to think that his emergence didn't help the Jaden Ivey era in Detroit.
Well, I
in
think
terms
it
of
made it
him
easier.
making him expendable.
Yeah, I think it made it easier for them to say, okay, if we're not likely to sign him in the offseason, why don't we move him? And what are we doing? I mean, Jaden Ivey didn't have he wasn't much of a contributor this year for this team because of injuries and coming off the injuries, kind of slow to come off that. Danis Jenkins has done a great job, and they reward him with an extended contract. I think it's great news for the Pistons. And I feel like we've moved on from the Ivy era here. Who knows? Maybe down the road they can revisit that years down the road. But for right now, it makes sense for them to give the guy minutes who's actually contributing in those minutes.
It's not a bad job, though, winning that game on Friday for a nice, cute little basketball team, as that one host at WFAN in New York referred to the Pistons as, who have now taken it to the Knicks a couple times this year.
Didn't they beat them by like 60 points in 2 games this year?
Well, this one was by 38, and the one they played earlier in the year, they won 121-90. So, yeah.
Is that good?
Yeah. Looking at the Knicks point totals here. Are those the 2 lowest point totals they've had this season?
I don't know. The Knicks went out and beat Boston right after they got thumped by the Pistons. So,
yep. Pistons banged up a little bit. I mean, look, is this for this stretch run for the Pistons? We're not in the stretch run yet. We still got 30-something games here to go. But I feel like one of the biggest goals of these last 30-ish, one is stay healthy. 2 is, maybe be able to rest some guys a little bit. 3 is crash course Kevin Huerter. Right? Over the course of this, figure out his role, what he's going to be able to do. It's probably not going to happen right away. All that matters is that you have him up to speed and figuring out how to use his skill set with this group of players as best you can come postseason. That is a primary goal of these last 30-ish games.
Well, it made it seem with the press conferences we've seen with JB Bickerstaff that they just really like his basketball IQ. Mm-hmm. He's a guy who understands where you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to do when you're on the floor, and that matters to them. It helps to create some spacing, but that he can also distribute the basketball when necessary and hopefully knock down a shot when it's open. We haven't really seen him knock down the three-point shot in a couple games. He's gotten a look here, but like you said, as long as he's ready to go by the playoffs, that's all that matters. It can be a slow roll up until that point, but they've got plenty of games to work it out.
Yeah, I wanted a little bit of a bigger move, but they felt like this squad could do it with just a little tweak, and I'm hopefully Huerter is the guy, so I'm rooting for all of them, especially even the guys that were already here, like Javonte Green, your boy, Doug. That game was so out of hand against the Knicks. They're up like 40 points at one point in the fourth quarter. He had his kid on the bench with him. That's like the most disrespectful thing I've ever seen. Like, bring the kids onto the bench. There's like 5 minutes left in the game. What do we do? I know, like you said, they didn't have Cat and they didn't have OG, but still, man.
It was kind of good for the Pistons' soul.
Yeah, because after that Wizards loss, where that was the biggest upset in the NBA this year.
Watching the Wizards beat the Pistons, and I'm looking at who's on the floor for the Wizards, and I'm like, they're losing to a bunch of walk-ons.
Dude, no Anthony Davis, no Trae Young.
Yeah. And you can see even the Wizards bench, they were like having the time of their lives. Like, they were asking, who are these guys? It was all their backups lighting the Pistons up. It was bizarre. And they wouldn't miss big shots. But yes, coming off that a day later to take it to the Knicks. Now, coming out of the All-Star break, they will play in New York in 10 days. And I suspect both teams will be closer to healthy. And unfortunately, that'll probably be more indicative of what's to come. And if the Pistons beat a healthy Knicks team in New York in 10 days, yeah, I think we're talking about, okay, message sent. Clear message sent.
Well, yeah. I think they're the best team in the Eastern Conference. Even after
all the smoke is
cleared on the trade deadline, I still think they're the best team in the Eastern Conference.
I think they probably are.
James Harden had a nice first game with Cleveland, but you would expect him to because he's a stat filler. He does what he does.
That's something to monitor. Could change who Cleveland is, and Cleveland could be a second-round matchup if Detroit is so fortunate to get to the second round. But nice little basketball team this Piston team has here. And no one can attest to that more than the New York Knicks, who have two of their worst offensive outputs of the season against Detroit. Charlotte tonight, not final word on Jalen Duren and whether or not he is going to play.